Son, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm dead. Sorry for dying. But all the information you'll need for life is right here on this show. My friends Sean and Scott are here, and we're going to talk about everything from girls, history, money, power tools. We'll even talk about how to check your testicles for lumps. You'll be fine. It'll be just like having a dad. Just pretend that I went out for smokes.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of the Out for Smokes podcast. I'm Mike Recine.
I'm Scott Chaplin.
Sean McCarthy is taking a leak right now.
Sitting down.
And yeah, we're on with Felix Biederman. Felix, thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure.
We almost lost a headphone splitter. I don't know why podcasting has to be just a technical nightmare every single time. I was ready to kill myself, thanks to my wife though, who found a splitter. But thanks,
what's the problem?
The problem is that we're recording through the Zoom, the H6. And so we needed everyone to hear you. So we have one headphone splitter that splits the headphones two ways, but we needed another one so that everybody could join in and hear you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. This is what people really want to hear, the best audio devices. But I don't really like using Zooms. I don't give a shit if it's easy to travel with. I just like using a 4-track because it's more you just hook it up through the USB adapter to your computer. You don't have to worry about batteries. I feel like Zooms have fucked me over more times than anything else.
Really?
Yeah, I don't care if the producer has to carry an extra heavy thing. What is 3 pounds
exactly,
more?
Exactly. Why don't you earn the yeah. And then what about this is good. This is a good little lesson for people. And then what about the outputs though? It has 4 outputs. Yeah.
Or you could use it. You can use a headphone splitter. It works for anything. But you can also put a headphone splitter into the computer that you're recording through the 4-track on.
Right. And I didn't realize you can have an infinite amount of headphone splitters. I mean, we could have if we wanted to, we could have 400 people listening to this show right now. Anyway, are we going to keep this?
Yeah, you could. Oh, that should be the highest tier of your subscribership.
you get to come to my house.
Yeah, you get to go to your or just be on the Zoom call because there are way too many podcasts by people who listen to whatever podcast so many times. They're like, oh, I should do this. I need to have a podcast. That's the reason that the market is saturated, and good things always break through, but it's tougher now because there's so fucking many.
Sure.
Instead of people starting new podcasts where it's they don't really have anything going besides their alpha reply guys to existing podcasts. What if instead they could pay $1,000 a month to be on the Zoom call for one episode every month?
And just kind of listen.
Yeah, or they could, if they pay more, they can talk. I mean, whatever. Okay, one episode a month, that's a waste. That's fine.
Right.
But yeah, this podcast is different. The theme of this podcast is feeding Mike Ricine's son.
This is kind of the only podcast. Felix, have you ever done a podcast that's for a baby? The show is for it's not. It's
one could say that I do a show that's like that 2 days a week.
Yeah, yeah, for multiple baby. Well, this show is a little different because this show's for one baby.
Yeah.
So,
if you subscribe to the Patreon, you can hear how much is in Mike Ricine's checking account right now, and you will up your tier immediately because he's trying to raise a child.
Exactly. Once again to my beautiful boy, if you're listening to the show, Daddy's dead. He passed away, and we're here. We're going to talk to Felix about. Well, I guess what I want to. I mean, let's get into. I guess the first thing I want to ask you is that. When we think about our dads, Is there anything? Are there any lessons that you learned from your dad, or anything that you wish maybe your dad had taught you, or I don't know, anything that sticks out specifically?
It's an interesting question because I feel like I don't know. I feel like a very common resentment that people have with their dads is like that they didn't teach them enough stuff on how to be normal or how to be a man. Right. That you're growing up and you're looking at everyone else, able to move through the world, and you're like, oh, well, what the fuck? Why don't you show me how to do that? And then when you're older, hopefully you get a little bit more mature, and you're like, oh, well, he was, maybe he had the exact same problems I did in interpreting the world, and he did not show me because he himself did not know. Or if your resentment is more along the lines of like, why am I such a pussy? Which some people have. It's like, well, he couldn't have told you the first thing about that. You just have to find your own way. But there are things that I am like happy that my dad showed me that I don't think other people could have, both directly, trying to show me that, but also just in the way that he lived his life. Like, you can pick up things that your dad does not mean to impart on you that actually end up being very valuable.
Right. Like what? Like, what's an example?
I mean, for my dad, it's that if you deny yourself of too much and you live like too Spartan of an existence, and you only focus on living your life in a way where if someone is looking from the outside, they can't accuse you of being frivolous or hedonistic or unserious. And if you only live your life that way, you're going to freak out. It's going to ruin your life. It will tear you apart inside because you need like some human joy. Because otherwise you're going to turn like 55 and be like, what the fuck? I like never have any fun. And you're just going to be stupid. You're going to be fucked up.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. You do really have to, as you get older, you got to find a way to, you got to find things that you're into. You got to find ways to enjoy yourself. And it's rare that you see like older guys enjoying themselves,
Well, no, I mean, I think there's an entire generation that was told enjoying yourself is for pussies.
Yeah.
Unless the enjoying yourself is, aggressive or something.
Yeah.
Just
enjoying yourself by killing the zipper heads near the DMZ.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Sean, I felt bad. He was kicked off Twitter, and I was like, kick him off everything. Kick him off out of every Uber he orders.
Right. No, it's a satire of the attitudes of a previous generation.
It's just like adding years to my life. My son's like, Daddy, can you play with me? I'm like, no, I'm editing the slurs that Sean said out of the podcast. I can't. Yeah, I think that's important. I think there's certain cultures where you see that, you see that more. You see like not people like my dad, but like stereotypical Italian guys. They have the pork store. Or when you go to Italy, there's a lot of people that like socialize, but but I do feel like my dad doesn't have any hobbies or joys, and it's very
Wait,
weird.
A pork store is a hobby?
No, it's like
Italian?
you sit outside. Yeah, you like sit
That's
outside
not
the
a
pork
thing.
store. Yes, it is.
The Sopranos.
Yeah, right. It's just like Mike just didn't have friends, and he just like, well, what do Italians do?
Well, do you guys really do that, the pork store thing?
I think in some places they do.
Mike wishes. Mike's like hung out outside of a few pork stores.
No, but when you go to Italy, there's a ton of like older guys, hanging out, playing bocce, things like that.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah.
That is true.
But yeah, keeping in the theme of this podcast is, lessons for Mike Recine's son. So I think I missed a bit of that conversation at the beginning, but, first off, Felix has some great lessons about the type of podcasting equipment he should use.
Yeah.
Do you think do you think your son should be a podcaster, or would you advise him against that, Mike?
Oh my God. That would be, okay. it's one thing if your dad, like, one day I might have kids, right? And it's like, I already do a podcast. Like, for Mike's son, it's like Mike's already in the podcast world. But imagine if your dad was, like, a contract lawyer or, like, works in an insurance company. And then when he turns 55, when he has that realization that all middle-class men have, that they, like, don't have any fun, the thing they want to do is, like, start a podcast. They just started for the first time when they're like 55.
Yeah.
Because when they were growing up, they were a fan of like this scene and shit.
Yeah.
That's going to happen.
Yeah, they're like, I always wanted to do a podcast, and my wife said it was a bad idea, and now that she's dead, I
Be like
out.
cover podcasts, just old men.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'll be great.
No, that's literally it. So in 10 years, someone's embarrassing dad is going to, like, their kid's going to go to college, and then they're alone in the house the first time in, like, 18 years, and they're going to make Cumtown. They're going to try to make Cumtown.
Right.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Well, I'll be doing like a Chapo cover podcast, but being like, I kind of like to do my own original thing in the spare time, but the Chapo cover pays the bills. Just go to different towns, pretend to be Will Menaker.
Podcast karaoke.
Just a Will Menaker
Like, yeah,
impersonator.
like Anthony Cubilla's brother who has the U2 cover band.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's look to the news right now. I guess the big story that's happening is, you got that war in Ukraine, and
we don't know when this is being posted, right?
it's gonna be
So the war could be here by now.
It could be here, but currently it's just in Ukraine.
So we're talking about Putin's invasion of Moldova right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this will be out in 2 weeks, so we can talk about it. But we should just bear in mind that,
we could all be speaking Russian in a few.
Right.
Yeah.
It was pretty fucked up when Zelensky was assassinated last week, huh?
Yeah.
Well, if my dad, was still with us, I could tell you guys exactly what's going to happen. But unfortunately, he's no longer with us. My dad's job was, he told Jews not to come to work in events all over the world.
Okay.
And that's why I don't have student loans.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool though.
Yeah, it was a cool job. He got in there because he was like just really good at talking on the phone.
Yeah.
If Zelensky gets murdered, what happens? We still don't do anything, right? We just have to kind of go, damn.
That sucks.
As a country, Joe Biden has to
yeah.
stand on stage and go, it's crazy what he's doing.
I hope that if it comes to that, which I hope it doesn't, like, I want this to end as soon as possible, as all people should. But some people in America should kind of feel bad. Not for, like, not helping, but for, like, just sort of, like, gassing Ukraine up to fight a war on our behalf. I know they're their own people with their own struggles, but, like, we did kind of, we put them up to a lot of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah, now all we're giving them is just unaccounted shipments of weapons and viral posts.
Oh, no doubt. Even the sanctions in Russia, like McDonald's now, McDonald's are closing all locations in Russia. Mm-hmm. And it's just, why does that affect Putin? Like, it affects the fucking people.
No.
And I know, they want the people to uprise, but damn, I mean, they don't get to watch any television. WWE cut their programming from Russia. It's like, who do you look to in this time over there,
The American military strategists were like, how would we get the American people to rebel? Oh, we would shut down McDonald's.
Yeah. Get rid of McDonald's, Netflix.
I love the people who are like, oh, is this hard on, like, regular Russian poor people? Well, tough shit. You should overthrow your government. And it's like... for Americans who just, like, take so much abuse smiling, that is a hilarious thing for us to say. And also, not even mentioning, if we had to pay for 1% of what America does overseas, or even just on the border,
Yeah.
what would life be like?
Or in downtown Manhattan or anything else, yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's just kind of weird because it's like you go through, like we all grew up and, 9/11 happened. We all remember that. And so we've just like we're all kind of like just burnt out on war.
Right.
And then
Felix's
it's like
dad was making the phone calls. He told Felix, "Hey, I just got off the phone with Larry Silverstein."
Felix's dad was like, I'm tired of doing this. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want
my dad was like, okay, I'm like 60 now. I've spent my whole life on the phone with like Larry Silverstein telling people not to go to work and now I have to like fuck some lady. No, I'm kidding about that. My dad had a like hilarious, like embarrassing midlife crisis that like, at the time when I was like 15, because it's just like you don't have any like emotional gauge for things and you have trouble seeing the humor in everything when it's happening to you. I was like, oh my God, how could he do this? Like like really sad when I was a kid. In retrospect, one of the funniest things that has ever happened in my life.
His midlife crisis?
Hilarious. Yeah. Yes.
Did he dress different?
Yeah, what happened?
Oh my God, yeah. So my dad always he always wore he was he never wanted to spend money. He was like a pretty successful lawyer, but he just never spent money. He had like the fucking shittiest fitting suits. He was just like a very austere person. He would go to work every day with that shitty wheat bread that they sold in the 90s because my family is a wheat bread family.
Arnold?
And that and that shitty stir peanut butter that's way too dry. 3 apricots and 3 almonds in a bag.
Yeah.
And a warm seltzer. And, just wearing the same shitty suits he'd have for like 10 years, like falling off his body because he's having like a pro-Anna diet. He was the first pro-Anna man. And on the weekend, when it's time to cut loose, he would just wear like the most faded denim shirt and jeans. And like he starts having his midlife crisis and he starts wearing like a Manchester United track jacket, like never fucking watch soccer, any of that. Starts buying these like cool jeans. He I go to his apartment when he moved out. Not quite that bad. Like if he had bought True Religion jeans, my family would have had to like kill him. It would have had to have been an honor killing. But like I went to his, he bought an apartment for him and his girlfriend at the height of the real estate bubble, and then like it instantly crashed after. And when I went there, it was all this shit that he wasn't into, but like he was like he thought he had to be cool, just like the track jacket and shit.
Did he have a younger girlfriend?
Yeah. He had a younger girlfriend. He had all this like West African art that he had never been into before. And he would because he had never bought anything new for like 20 years. He'd say all this dumb shit. He'd be like, "So I've been buying clothes from the Gap. They're pretty good, but they fall apart after you wash them 3 times." And it's like, that's not true. You're just doing something crazy.
Yeah.
You just don't know how to do anything.
Just imagine.
But
all that like African art, he was like decorating his mistress's apartment based on an episode of Frasier he saw. Like this is
literally yes. Yeah, but I used to be like really mad at him for it when I was a kid because this all started when I was like 15, 16.
Yeah.
And he passed away a few years after that. And as I have grown older, I've like not been mad at him for it. Like it's still ridiculous and we still like laugh about it in my family because it's like it's a ridiculous thing to happen. But sort of going back to what I said at the beginning of the show, I no longer feel like I can like morally judge him for it. Like, yeah, it's a bad thing to do, but also like, you fucking get older and you have relationships fall apart and you have you have all this shit happen to you, and you just kind of realize that your dad is like as fallible a person as you are, and that in his own way he did impart a good lesson here, which is it's obviously not good to live your life hedonistically, but if you deny yourself too much just out of fear of being embarrassed or whatever, you're gonna go crazy, and then you're gonna have the African art that you've never had before, and everyone's gonna laugh at you.
It's almost like the dam breaks and it's just a bunch of African art comes out.
It's exactly what it was like.
I'm curious to talk about midlife crises more generally, though, because, the three of us, we're all in our 30s. Felix, you're in your mid-late 20s now. And it's just something where it's like, I guess this is kind of where life goes, because I know, you see these, like, 50 or 60-year-old guys driving around in the Porsches or, with, as you were saying, with younger girlfriends or whatever else. And it's just like, you work your entire life, you probably raise kids. So that's like, a 40-hour work week, kids, whatever else you got going on. Like, that's 20 years of your life just gone. And then you wake up one day and you're, 50s or 60s, and you're just like, what was the meaning of it all? Did I get anything out of it? And I guess it is just like a general question as to what a midlife crisis is and what we can all look forward to in, 10 or 20 years down the line.
Well, I don't think I think it's kind of like you don't need to have it, right? I mean, everyone's like, there is going to be a small crisis because the idea of turning 50 freaks everyone out. And, for my dad at least, I think by any metric, he was a very successful person. He raised 3 kids and 3 kids that like became pretty good adults. It was on the wire for me, but I pulled it out at the end, by starting a podcast.
Right.
I wish you could have seen it, but my brother and sister are like incredibly smart and accomplished people. But at the same time, it just, anyone's going to sort of freak out at the specter of time, even if by any metric you've done enough. But I do think your midlife crisis does not have to be upending or, destroy your life, which his kind of did, as long as you kind of try to live your life with a balance, as tough as that is. But no, I can't say he like fucked up. Like, I had a great childhood, and yeah, I don't have student loans. Like, he was a great dad. He just fucked up, as we are all prone to fuck up.
Right.
But I think you're right about like midlife crises are going to be starting a podcast soon, because they're all going to be different. But there is this sense that a lot of people, including myself, sometimes have, that we have not creatively fulfilled our potential or whatever, that we wasted our days in an office, that we had something to give to the world that we didn't. And then as the clock runs down, you get more and more frustrated and nervous about that. And that drives people into these midlife crises.
Yeah, I think that's just the human condition. Like, first of all, I appreciate you saying I'm in my mid to late 20s. I'm actually 30 now, but
oh, you're 30 now?
Yeah, I'm 30. Time flies, doesn't it?
Mazel.
But I used to think, when I was like 24 or so, and like all this shit was starting, if you had described like what we've done since then and what I've been able to do just with my work and stuff, just with things I've been able to make, I would have been like, oh, holy shit, like that's okay, then I'm done. I did everything. I did way beyond what I wanted to do. But you're always, no matter what, you're just always going to feel like you want to do more, like you have more to give, because I guess there's no metric for which anyone's ever going to be satisfied. Yeah. And I think that it can be positive if you push yourself into like pushing creative boundaries or like trying things you haven't tried. But it can also be negative. It can also just be this hole that you never fill, where you end up going crazy, which also happens.
Well, it's like this obsession with changing the first line of your obituary. Like, for me right now, it would probably, if I died, it would just be like, racist Twitter user dies. Yeah. Guy who was banned 7 times.
Well,
from
Sean,
Twitter.
if you want to fix that, it's not a hard fix. We'll just put a list of 7 words on the thing.
Yeah, we can get you unbanned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Racist Twitter user dies, but he still had his Twitter.
It's cool. I started a podcast and I'm not the racist one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not since you did a podcast with Frank Terranova has that been the case.
Right. I've actually always been able to skirt racism allegations.
I have never seen those about you.
Yeah.
No?
No, I haven't. No.
No, but I'm Italian. I'm from Jersey, and so it's like a werewolf inside of me. Like I feel like
It's so funny, like doing like an adjacent leftist podcast and like, knowing you, Felix, and like the Chapo guys, but then like following Mike and like when he goes on like Legions of Skanks, he's like the leftist faggot or something. All the fans are like, somebody get this DSA PC socialist out of here. And it's like, no, actually, he's just barely tolerated on the other side.
Yeah.
I used to, I guess since I said embarrassing things my dad did, I have to reveal embarrassing things that I have thought and done. But I would listen to like Opie and Anthony in like 2008 and 9 and think like,
how's that embarrassing?
No, listen to what I'm going to say.
Of course,
I would fantasize about like bringing like a leftist perspective to it. I'd be like, I could hang out and riff with the guys, but I would give them some leftist arguments that I think they would have trouble rebuffing.
Yes.
I did that like 2 days ago. But no, you do think about like, I mean, sometimes, you think about like doing like the Anthony Cumia show.
Yeah.
And being like, what about Malcolm X?
yeah.
But Patrice was pretty good at that sometimes when he was on.
I loved the Patrice episodes. Well, I feel like the best episodes obviously are the comedian hangout episodes, but the best of those are when it's like when it's an argument and the person arguing at least is like sort of good at presenting their side of the story. Obviously with most of the attention focused on it being funny, but I loved that show. When I was a kid, I like go back and I listened to some Jocktober stuff, but I'm not good. That was a huge influence on me.
Yeah, depending on who the guest was, I would skip first period in high school to listen to it in the car.
Really?
Yeah, if like Louis was on or Patrice was on.
Yeah.
Even Bobby Kelly or I would skip first.
You would skip half of first period if it was Bobby Kelly.
All right, I'm going back to algebra. He's just crying.
Voss, I'd go in early and study.
Just like,
The Louis episodes were like Christmas.
oh, they were great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you avoid a midlife crisis, is just jack off in front of women.
Yeah. Hey, say what you want about him.
What do you think your guys' midlife crisis will be?
Hopefully I don't hurt anybody.
Yeah. I don't know.
You said that like, oh, it would be a shame if I hurt anyone.
No, I probably
sounds like you want to.
I'd probably get into some sort of training.
Be a shame if I slammed my dick in a revolving door over and over again.
I think a few tattoos, training.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like probably like, maybe like woodwork. I would probably go try to be working class again. I'd probably try to start like picking up garbage or buy some tools.
I think the honest truth is we're just going to fall in love with a stripper for like,
Right.
Yeah.
For a season.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You always have this idea, like your past loves or whatever, or like the relationships that didn't quite work or the one that got away. This constant sense, like you were saying, Felix, about, more and grass is always greener. Like, I could see why you just like spend, 10 or 20 years in a relationship and then you're like, well, let's try something new without really understanding, like, oh, you've built up that reserve with somebody that you've made a life that's compatible together, and it's very hard to find that,
I think the main issue is people just get distracted in their own thoughts. Like,
Right.
that's just life. And so then a lot of times you become two people who are barely talking.
Yeah.
And that's when it's like, I want to not be with you. And it's like, how? And it's like, well, we've been together 20 years.
Yeah.
And the last 12 have been us really barely enjoying each other.
Well, here's what I think. You shouldn't raise a kid with someone that you're fucking. That's like too much.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's just wrong for the kid.
It's wrong for the kid. Yeah.
To deal with that. If you want to raise a man, he'd fight his father for fucking his mother.
He'd fight his father for fucking his mother, which I should have done when I was about like 14.
You think you could have fought your dad at 14?
I think I
That's
could
a
have
good
at
question.
16. I think I could have beat my dad in a fight.
Oh shit! My dad, when he was like 15, he bear hugged his father and broke his ribs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On purpose?
No accident.
Oh, you don't think there's like some part of
Some
him that was
resentment,
like, yeah,
probably. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, that'll teach you for taking mom away from me.
Yeah, but I think you have to practice on your mother when you're like 11. So you start fighting her because my mom used to wash my mouth out with soap, but she would use but she would use bar soap and she would use liquid soap too. She would take this dispenser liquid soap and kind of pump it into my mouth. Yeah, curses and like back talk and things like that. So I
Giddy
think
motherhood on a budget, liquid soap.
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff that makes me realize like what a liberal pussy I am.
Mm-hmm.
Is because like I'd say like 75% of my friends are like, didn't you hate it when your mom would beat you when she was extra mad? And I'm just like I had the stereotypical like secular upper middle class Jewish upbringing where it's like, my parents never like hit me or anything anything like that.
But what did they do when you took the Lord's name in vain?
I was allowed to do so much because I was the youngest.
Yeah.
I was just, with my brother and sister, it was like, okay, they got into good colleges and they're like good kids. We just let this one do whatever.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah, I don't know if Felix, if Mike has told you, but his plan for avoiding a midlife crisis is to just die in 5 years.
Yeah.
Of like too much pancetta or some shit.
Getting there.
But it's like, yeah, I mean, we were talking about it on one of the earlier episodes we recorded, but a part of like Mike's motivation for starting this podcast is so that there are, lessons from him to his son that exist. And I don't know if it's too paranoid on your part, Mike, but I guess it is interesting to me, your mentality going into it as to like, in your mind, are you thinking you're going to have a midlife crisis or you're just not even going to make it that far?
I'm not really sure what it would be because I don't feel like I have regrets or anything. I mean, I might be a failure, but I can't think of anything because a lot of my friends are like pretty successful and stuff.
Right.
So like I'm surrounded by a lot of, very successful people and I'm not, but I can't think of anything that I wish I did differently. You know what I mean? Like I tried my best to be as like funny and as authentic as I could be.
Yeah.
And because I feel like midlife crises are for people who have regrets. And I don't feel like I have any.
I feel like Mike decided that after hearing "My Way" by Frank Sinatra. Like he didn't have a take on his life, but then he's like, "Regrets? I had a few."
I had zero.
I actually I agree with what Mike's saying there because I remember when I was like 18 and I started stand up and I had this idea in my head that I was going to be like famous by 27, and then you just kind of like grind it out and you realize like just the way like media has consolidated right now. If you want to be a writer on Stephen Colbert or The Daily Show, like I would have to produce comedy that I'm ashamed of.
Yeah.
And ultimately, even if I'm not successful, I would rather be able to stand by whatever I've created. And, maybe that's just cope for my lack of success, but I feel that way most of the time, 90% of the time.
Yeah. But I think if I did, I would get really into swords. I would buy tools and get swords.
I would, I will buy so many rare Magic cards.
Yeah.
Well, I've definitely gone through missing childhood phases. Have you gone through that where you buy a bunch of old video games, maybe?
Nostalgia. I try to play PS1 games, see if it's still
force yourself to watch
holds
an old
up.
thing that you used to love. Eat a thing you loved.
It is funny, like if this podcast like makes money, Mike will like use it to feed his baby, and I will just buy more Magic cards. Just like,
you collect Magic cards?
I do collect Magic cards.
No
yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
What about D&D? You do D&D?
Oh yeah, no. I have Counter-Strike Global Offensive skins. That's utterly indefensible. It's why I've like stopped making fun of NFTs because it's like, well, I do this thing, so how much better am I? I don't know. I have things that I collect, not really because I want to sell them or it's an investment, but just I think they're cool. Like I have a PFLP pin from the 70s that is very difficult to find. I like historical stuff. Every time that I like get a tax refund, I have to keep myself from buying like. There's this thing on eBay that I like I had to pull myself away from the computer where it's like an Air America flight jacket, a real one.
Oh, that rocks.
But I have stuff like that. I love stuff like that. But I also, I have a fair bit of like nerdy things. Whenever there's a special huge edition of like Elden Ring, I have that. For Dune, I have that. When like they re-released Berserk in like a really fucking huge, nice hardcover, I bought that. I just, I like all the predictable like stupid nerd shit.
Yeah, I think our parents got away with their loser shit because their entertainment was like cowboys and guns and stuff. And so when they did it as adults, we didn't even recognize it as being childish.
Being childish, yeah.
But it's like, there's no such thing as a fucking cowboy. Like, you're a little boy.
Right.
It's all very silly.
Yeah. My dad is actually like that. He's born in Ireland. He moved to the U.S. when he was like 16, and his favorite show is Gunsmoke. So I was able to get him all those on DVD, and he liked that a lot. But he collects, or he used to collect dinky toys. I don't know if you guys know what those are. They're like little cars and such. Like he would have like the dinky toy ambulance, the dinky toy, like the BP truck, one of those old ones from like the 60s and stuff. And some of them are actually worth a fair bit of money. And then my brother developed a heroin addiction and stole some of them and pawned them. So that was, pretty heartbreaking for him to deal with, but
Oh.
But that's like, so at least I know that's where my magic card thing comes from, is my dad would collect dinky toys that his other son would later steal and pawn some of.
Well, my grandfather collected, I don't even know what you call it, stamps. And I thought they'd be worth a bunch of money, and they're not. You have to like find another old guy who gives a fuck. You have to like just walk around the park and go, anybody? I have a giant box of stamps.
Right, that was big, right? With old people, a few.
Oh yeah, they like stamps, coins, and anything that was America giving, that was straight up American. This is the U.S. Mint. This is the U.S. whatever. It's There's a closeness to it.
Yeah.
My dad collected guns and Budweiser signs, like neon signs, Budweiser mugs, Budweiser posters, any collector can, all that shit.
That's pretty cool.
Which worth a lot of money, but again, a hassle. It's like set up an eBay and sell neons. I can hear his piss.
I know.
That's a very dad thing, like pissing with the toilet. Like pissing with the door open is the most dad thing in the world.
Well, no, he just got his earbuds in.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think he can hear us. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
That's the Patreon tier. You can hear Felix pissing.
Yeah, that'll go directly to Patreon.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah, no. It's really loud. I was in a Twitter space once and everyone could hear it and I was very embarrassed. I just have I would rather it be very loud than be very quiet. That would be humiliating. If it's very quiet, it just raises a ton of questions.
I think so too. You feel powerful. What I do is I pee when I'm on the phone. I pee on the rim of the bowl. I don't pee into the water.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. If I'm on a phone call that I can't get off of and I'm like, I'm needed, it's like some professional thing, I sit down. Mm-hmm. And I hope that helps it. Though it probably
you do?
It probably makes it louder and I don't even realize it because I have AirPods in.
Yeah, and they probably know that you pee sitting down and they're like, all right, well, that's all we need to see.
Yeah. All right, Spotify has had enough with you.
Yeah.
No, I'm not up for a Spotify deal.
I used to not pee sitting down, and then I realized, my wife would start getting mad at me because the toilet would always look disgusting because I would pee on it. So, and then if you sit down, it's actually you pee less on the toilet. So I did start sitting down to pee. And I don't think that's emasculating. I think it's just avoiding an argument.
Yeah, no, your wife asked you to pee sitting down, and you said, "Of course, honey, absolutely."
At all.
You said, "Whatever you say, your wish is my command." All right. Well, guys, before we wrap up, I think it is important if you want to talk about lessons that you want to pass down to your kid. I think the way that you view and treat animals is very important. And I always like hearing Felix talk about animals. I like hearing him talk about going to the zoo. Why don't everybody go around the table and say the last time you went to the zoo and the best animal that you saw there?
Well, I love that question. I also think it's just to set up you bragging about how you went to the zoo recently.
I did go to the zoo recently.
Ooh.
I went to the zoo on mushrooms in December. It was very cold, but cool as hell, man. Just stared into a wolf's eyes, like legit.
It's so funny. Like, you want to talk about
there.
midlife crises. Like, Scott didn't do drugs until he's 30, and now he's making up for lost time. He's speed running mushrooms.
He just sucked off a gorilla at the zoo.
You know how they say, like, if a kid tortures animals, they're a serial killer?
Yeah.
But, like, also, there's no, like, adult who's going to be like, no, I killed animals when I was a kid, and I'm fine now.
Right.
Like, we know.
Scott, what drugs have you gotten into recently?
Oh, I mean, I smoke. I think I've been high for, like, 2.5 years. So, like,
Nothing
strictly
wrong with that.
smoking. Like, I didn't drink at all until the pandemic. So I drink now a little bit. I tried ecstasy 2 years ago, and then that's it.
That's a good one.
Oh, no, I went on an ayahuasca trip 1.5 years ago.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, in Joshua Tree. My girlfriend fucking paid for all of it. She was like, you need this. And, it was powerful, man.
That lasts like what, 12 hours or?
Yeah, it was a whole night for me. She stayed the whole weekend, but I was actually in Vegas and she was in Joshua Tree, and she was there Friday night, and she texted me Saturday morning and was like, "Get here now. I'll pay for all of it. You need to experience this." And then I threw up a bunch and almost shit myself, but I talked to God, and yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Nice.
Wow.
I've never done coke or anything, which is and now everybody's dying from it, like even celebrities, and they're barely giving a fuck. So I'm not interested.
Yeah. Those are all sound like positive drugs to get into. I mean, that none of them sound like really like turn up drugs.
Yeah,
I mean,
mushrooms.
Ecstasy
I'll do
is-
mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did ecstasy once, and then just never again because I wanted to kill myself 2 days later.
Oh,
Really?
yeah, the
Oh, yeah.
hangover's
For
bad.
some people to come down is really tough.
When I was in like college, I had this group of 4 friends, and I went over to their apartment one night. These 2 guys that lived together, and they were like, "Guess what we did?" And they were like, "We all did ecstasy." And I was like, "Well, why didn't you invite me?" Like they didn't invite me over to do the ecstasy with them for whatever the reason.
Wait, it was just like 5 homies doing ecstasy together.
Yeah. And
Oh my
Why
god.
didn't you invite me to the cuddle puddle?
right, and my friend Joe was like, "I jerked off just so I wouldn't do anything gay."
You remember?
He's like, "I jerked off before I did this because I didn't want to." You got to get it out.
That's how the Louis thing started.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be hanging out with a bunch of his friends doing ecstasy. And
Right.
He's like, "Oh, I have to be at
shit.
the hangout in like 20 minutes. Oh, this girl's already in my room. Fuck."
He forgot to jerk off.
Do you remember when ecstasy was like blowing up in Jersey? A bunch of bars and like the Jersey Shore got in trouble because they would turn off the faucets because people on ecstasy would drink from the faucets because you need to be hydrated.
Yeah.
And so they would turn off the faucets so people, they'll pay for drinks. And then people were just dying in bathrooms and in bars in Jersey. Yeah.
Well, that could have worked, guys. We could have moved a lot of Evians if my plan,
It's so funny to be like, try to save 90 cents on your water bill and somebody dies in your fucking bar. Yeah, shit, I wonder which will have more impact.
Wait, you've been to the zoo, though?
I went to the zoo a couple months ago. Yeah, the San Diego Zoo.
What'd you see? Oh, I've been to the San Diego, one of the best zoos in the country.
Yeah,
they
it's a
say.
good one.
I love that shit.
Yeah. $60 a ticket, a little high. Yeah, so
Yeah,
for
it's
2
pricey.
people.
Especially for one of them, is not even going to remember it. It's like halfway through, you realize it's just so Deb can take fucking photos,
Yeah. Well, the baby gets in free, but
Oh,
yeah,
no shit.
$121 for 2 of us to go to the goddamn.
Got to put those gorillas on a diet, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, wait till Disney, dude.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're gonna go nuts, dude.
Yeah. But we did see a lot of we saw. So I mean, like the elephants are cool, the big cats, the orangutans are really something. I think my favorite animal. There's something about that mandrill, that big colorful monkey.
I love those.
They're amazing. Yeah, and I was watching them like kind of crawl around, and I don't know, they're real pretty, and yeah, that was my.
I gotta look them up. What are they called?
That was my favorite. It's like Rafiki in Lion King.
Oh yeah, they fucking rule, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, all
Those
day.
are amazing.
And they're also like they're pretty strong looking, right? I know orangutans are surprisingly strong.
A lot, yeah. Most apes, even the ones that don't look incredibly strong to you, they're pretty hard body. I mean, gibbons start brachiating, which is going from tree to tree at a very young age. They're quite strong.
Okay.
And most like larger monkeys, like a 40, 50-pound monkey, is incredibly strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume almost every monkey could fuck a person up. Just speed, bite.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes.
But I do know because they used
Absolutely.
to sell monkeys at like pet stores.
Did they?
Yeah. When our parents were kids.
Yeah.
And my dad told me that his friends had monkeys, and he went over, and the monkey bit his friend, and his friend grabbed it by the tail and banged it against the wall, and it died.
Oh no.
Yeah. I don't know why I said
kind of
that. I just
monkey
it's a
was it?
podcast
Scott's,
about dad. And
Scott's
so
dad was a
I said,
cop.
I feel like I'm like inclined to tell stories.
We're teaching Mike's son how to kill a monkey.
Yeah. I remember my dentist
Damn,
office
dude.
my pediatric dentist office in Jersey had monkeys. There was like a glass cage in the dentist office, and there were like 2 monkeys.
That's wild.
It's kind of wild because it's like you think dentist, like it's supposed to be clean.
Yeah,
There's
there's no way
monkeys
to-
there.
Yeah,
it was the monkey dentist.
who's the person? Who's like the nurse? Who's the lady who got the job at the dentist office? Who's like, okay, now clean the monkey cage. She's being attacked by monkeys.
Yeah, they're
all-
biting her.
And shit thrown at her every day.
Yeah.
What a
The
nightmare.
monkeys that bite.
Felix, I did want to ask you. I know you love animals. You have a deep interest in monkeys. You don't. What? That's a setup.
That was a weird. That was a weird sentence.
No. It's
You have
a
deep
question.
interest in monkeys.
Deep interest in monkeys.
She posts a lot of monkey pics.
It's true.
But
I was a big chimp fan as a kid.
yeah, they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you, Felix. Like, you don't have any pets at this point. Do you have any plans to get pets? Or I don't even know if you're allowed to own a monkey in New York.
Oh, I would never have a monkey or an ape as a pet. It's pretty mean to do it to them unless you really know how to take care of primates and have a lot of space for them. The thing that's keeping me from getting any pets is just how much I travel, how much I'm away, and
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm where I'm going to live next, and I don't know. I just don't want to like get a pet and then immediately like uproot 2 months later. I mean, I want a sable more than anything, but I think that's with the new Russia sanctions. I think that's totally out. I've thought about getting a serval, which is a big, large cat. I think that's kind of a little intense. I would get 2 because I always think an animal needs a friend. If I get anything, I'm gonna try to rescue a Portuguese water dog. Those are what we had growing up. I love those.
Those are cool, right?
They're very smart. They're neurotic. They have their own personalities, and they were bred to swim messages in between boats.
It's pretty cool.
Like a couple weeks ago, I was at the dog park over here, and like this guy's dog was like being a little high energy, not too bad, but he had the dog separated originally, and then I brought my dog in, and then his dog started like going after this other dog that was in there, not going after it, but like playing with it and stuff, and the owner was this woman who was there with her boyfriend. She like freaks out at this guy, and she's like, "Your dog is like really stressed and aggressive, and you don't even realize because you're so fucking white privileged." And she like grabs the dog, storms out of the dog park, and she's like, "You don't even realize it." She's like, "You fat fuck!" Starts calling the guy a fat fuck, and
God.
yeah, and then so she's gone, and the guy walks up to me, and he's like, "Hey, I gotta tell you, I'm like a super leftist." And I tried to be like, because I tried to be like brotherly and be like, these white women, they're always weaponizing their identity. And then he was like, "Well, I don't know if I agree with that."
He made you a piece of shit.
He made me the piece of shit. Yeah.
Oh,
You should have been like, well, you are fat ass though. So
Yeah. I should have told him I knew Felix. That would have made
damn,
his
the
day.
white privilege argument at a
If
dog
he,
park.
well,
weird.
if he said that after being yelled at like that, after being like, oh, I don't know about that, he's probably one of the people who thinks I'm racist.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But it's like, how good of a leftist are you if you don't hate white women? Anyway.
Well, I don't, I
right.
do not hate white women. I just, if you've spent your whole, adult life fucking them, how much can you actually hate them? I think this is the year we should give white women a break. How about that? How about instead of stop white women 2022, it's start white women 2022?
Yeah.
A change gonna come for white women.
Give white women.
Oh, yes, it is.
Give them a little reset button.
This International Women's Day, we just want to celebrate one special lady named Victoria Nuland at the Biden State Department and all her great work on the Ukraine crisis.
Who's that, Sean? No one knows who that is.
Victoria Nuland, she fomented a coup in Ukraine in 2014.
Oh, okay. Got
Oh,
it.
damn. Take that,
Yeah.
bitch.
She's a real piece. She's a real piece of work.
Imagine being married to that, huh?
The last thing I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to say today, and I just wanted to give a little bit of a preview and hopefully an incentive to subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/outforsmokes. I did the research. We're gonna have an episode on some of the journalists who were probably killed by the CIA. So I'll just give you a little preview here. We got three of the journalists who were researching the JFK assassination in like 64, 65, and including Dorothy Kilgallen. They all died mysterious deaths. Give you a brief overview of the biography there, the circumstances of their death. You can make your own decisions. Danny Casolaro is this guy who he's an American journalist. He dies in 1991. He was researching this thing on the Bank of Credit and Commerce. He called it the Octopus. Dies in 1991, weird circumstances. The writer with no hands, Gary DeVore, he was like a Hollywood screenwriter, disappears in 1997, and then, supposedly they find his body a year later. He was working on some sort of screenplay.
He had no hands?
Yeah, he was found, or he was supposedly found in his car with his hands missing. But it was pretty clear from the circumstances that the car and the body were placed there, and then somebody like serendipitously was probably told to go there and find them. We'll get into the whole story, but he was working on some sort of screenplay about the invasion of Panama, which theorized that Noriega in Panama was overthrown because he had compromising photos of CIA agents at, honeypot parties, probably with child sex slaves or something. We don't know for sure. Gary Webb, famous for Dark Alliances, exposing the whole crack epidemic. And Michael Hastings died in 2013. So the lesson for Mike's son there is if you are going to criticize the government, don't get a car with a computer in it.
Yeah, do it in a silly way.
Ride a bike where you're safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to say, in light of that, Victoria Nuland is making waves for women every day. There was no coup in Ukraine in 2014. We must hold all enemy nations to NATO accountable. The work of democracy will not be finished until NATO stretches from Los Angeles, California to Beijing.
That's right. Thank you, Felix. And hey, Felix, thank you for doing this,
Yeah,
buddy.
thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Sorry I could not be there in person. It's just tax season and all.
You don't want to come down here.
No, I had a call at 5.
Yeah.
I've been to your place. I like it.
But thanks. Cool. All right. Well, that's the episode. This was Out for Smokes. Follow us, support us on Patreon, patreon.com/sitdownpod, and we will see you guys next week.
Patreon.com/outforsmokes.
Sit down. Sorry, I'm so used to saying sit down pod.
Patreon.com/outforsmokes.
Can I die?
No. If you enjoyed the episode, or if you just want to feed Mike's baby, patreon.com/outforsmokes.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.